As many of you will already know by now, and I have no illusions that my piddly little channel is going to particularly inform anyone, YouTube's guidelines have changed yet again, and this is going to result in the demonetization of a whole bunch of videos. And this amounts to soft censorship. And this is not a good thing. It is not a good thing for creators, who, as usual, are the ones being shafted. And this means that YouTube, that has up until now been a rather resistant bastion of free speech on the internet, is now under severe threat. Now, I'm not a big YouTuber. I don't have a huge amount of expertise when it comes to YouTube, but I do know about censorship, and I have campaigned on that issue a lot, in a lot of different instances, with varying degrees of success. And so I think I have some stuff to add here. So first up, what's actually happening? What's happening is a whole bunch of videos that various creators have made are being demonetized. This means you no longer get advertising revenue on it. You're no longer served adverts. You no longer earn money when you make those videos. The reasons why this might have been done, we'll get into in a bit. But this also can potentially threaten your channel. Your channel can be demonetized if you persistently create this kind of content. So it's not necessarily on a video by video basis. This is threatening. I mean, there are people who make their living here on YouTube. There are people who supplement their income here on YouTube. To give you some idea, I mean, I have a few hundred people who subscribe to me. I make a handful of bucks every month. It's not really, monetarily worth it for me. So this doesn't particularly impact me. I'm pushing my opinions out there. That's more important to me. I'm pushing my products and my books to people. I'm creating videos that serve my products on other bases. So that's why I do it, really. But it would be nice to be a big channel, to supplement my income, to have this be another revenue stream. And that's why I've been making videos more frequently, almost daily, at least in the week. Because I'm trying to build that up. I'm trying to create that kind of audience and to make that kind of money to supplement my income, another string to my bow. So, I make a handful of bucks with a few hundred subscribers. A few thousand subscribers, you make some nice pocket money. Tens of thousands of subscribers, you are supplementing your income to a reasonable degree. And once you hit about 100,000 subscribers, you can effectively make a very basic kind of living off YouTube if you work really hard at it. So that gives you some idea. So if you look at channels that have 100,000 plus subscribers, these are the kinds of people that are going to be really hit by this in a significant monetary way. Yeah, and the state of the economy, the way everyone works in a kind of gigging situation, if you're a creative person, anything you can do to get a little bit of extra money means a lot. So if you lose that, you lose something really significant. So that's from the creative side of things. Now for us as viewers of YouTube, as users of YouTube, as people who come here for content, here's what it's going to do for us. It's going to mean less content. It's going to mean less variety of content, because anyone who does anything controversial stands to lose their income if they continue to produce content on that basis. So a big part of the reason people come to YouTube is for alternative points of view, and for the kinds of things that you can't necessarily see elsewhere. Many of those points of view and a lot of that content is now going to be deemed offensive. News content will be deemed offensive and not advertiser friendly. If you make short horror films, you might be fucked. If you do readings of horror stories, you might be fucked. If you swear a lot, you might be fucking fucked. These kinds of things. So response videos, those are under threat. All that kind of creative stuff I just mentioned, that's under threat. For all kinds of reasons. And this is supposedly coming from advertisers. And here's why that doesn't make sense. The advertising that gets served on your videos might be hit up on keywords, but in no way implies that this advertiser supports you. You are providing eyeballs to the advertisers. The advertisers are providing you money. That does not mean they support what you say. It does not mean they support your political point of view. It does not mean they necessarily support your art. You're providing a service, eyeballs. They're providing money, great. The intermediary is YouTube, which brings the creators and the advertisers together. You don't see this happen on TV. You know, if Frankie Boyle has a comedy special on Channel 4 or whatever, and, you know, and he's swearing like a trooper and whatever else, advertisers don't flee. You know, the advert breaks in the show don't disappear. People target their audience. You know, and their audience includes people who like adult entertainment, who like swearing and controversial points of view and all the rest. You know, you watch the news on a private channel rather than the BBC. Yeah, there's advert breaks before and after. You know, you don't get advertisers pulling out. Well, you know, you're reporting on a plane crash today, and we don't want to be associated with plane crashes and people dying, and we fear that people may associate our product with this plane crash and may even attribute the plane crash to our product. So I'm afraid we're going to have to pull our advertising support. And we're also going to have to pull our sponsorship of the weather forecast because there's a hurricane coming, and we just can't have our product associated with hurricanes and all the homelessness and destruction that's incurred by that. So sorry, we're going to have to pull out. This doesn't happen. Why should it happen on YouTube? Why should the fact that your advert is served on my channel mean anything other than I'm giving you eyeballs and you're giving me money and YouTube money? You know, it doesn't imply anything unless you're directly sponsoring me. It's meaningless. And why would anyone think that? So that just rings completely hollow to me, especially on a service like YouTube, where you could have advertisers opt in or opt out of serving advertising to controversial content. Wouldn't that be easy to do? You know, if your video is marked adult or has certain dangerous keywords, then an advertiser could choose to opt in or out. I'm sure there's plenty of advertisers who would love to be included on edgy content. And they would, you know, that would be very competitive for them because the edgy content gets the most eyeballs, and if other advertisers don't want to be on there, maybe they can get cheaper advertising on there. So those creators would still get their money flow, and those advertisers would get greater value for money. So why the fuck not? So let's have a look at the kind of things that they're worried about, the kind of things that can get you demonetized and will de-incentivize creators to create this kind of content. What kind of things are so terrible that these advertisers don't want? Sexually suggestive content, including partial nudity and sexual humor. Girl walks into a cocktail bar and asks the bartender for a double entendre. So the barman gives her one. Violence, including display of serious injury and events related to violent extremism. See that scar on my elbow there? Cricket net. So that last case of violent Islamic extremism where they decapitated / blew up / hung / threw people off buildings, that was bad, wasn't it, right? Inappropriate language, including harassment, profanity and vulgar language. That YouTuber who said horrible things about cis-het white male heteropatriarchal whatever the fuck. Well, they're a big mound of festering clunge batter, aren't they? Promotion of drugs and regulated substances, including selling, use and abuse of such items. Controversial or sensitive subjects and events, including subjects related to war, political conflicts, natural disasters and tragedies, even if graphic imagery is not shown. Rape, war and torture are bad. So any of that can see your channel get fucked so far as money is concerned, and I think anyone with a lick of sense can see how this could be a problem for all kinds of creators. People who monitor the news, people who make response videos to other people's claims, which used to be a fucking feature here on YouTube. Anyone who swears, fuck shit ass bollocks poo titwank, anyone who creates any kind of horror content. I mean, if you were doing a special effects makeup tutorial, that could get you fucked. If you are showing BDSM ties in a completely safe for work way, that will probably still get flagged. No advertising for you. If you make miniature dioramas that show violence and you like to show those off on your channel, you're probably fucked as well. You know, all this kind of stuff. This is way too broad. And as I pointed out earlier, if this is driven by advertisers, why is it so inconsistent? And here we are on a platform where advertising could be streamed to different kinds of content and it wouldn't matter. Come to that, why doesn't YouTube have an adult section? You know, a walled off adult content section where the rules are much looser and pretty much anything goes. Why not? And the same on Facebook and the same on Twitter. Okay, now let's go off on a censorship rant. Is this censorship? Yes, private entities can censor, whether they're companies, whether they're pressure groups, whatever. Anything that restricts and limits content is censorship. The real argument is whether it's justified or not. So is this justified? Advertisers, supposedly, and I reckon SJW types as well, are applying pressure to YouTube to try to get them to stop hosting certain kinds of content. Why? As we've been over, the advertising argument does not hold water. SJWs, we know why. They want to control any and all kind of content that anyone can produce on any platform, and anything they don't like should not be allowed. Thing is, right, this is going to hit them too, because if they want to talk about raising awareness about race or sexual issues or whatever else, that's going to be controversial content. And all it's going to take is one cunt, maybe me, to flag up their video and say this is not advertising appropriate because they're talking about things that blah 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 blah, and they're screwed, you know? So they're fucked as well. Who does this benefit? It doesn't benefit advertisers because it's fucking meaningless to advertisers. It doesn't benefit content creators. It harms content creators. It doesn't help the viewers. It harms the viewers. And it doesn't help the kinds of people who are probably asking for this kind of censorship because they're going to end up getting fucked without lube as well. But my free market. No. Fuck you. Alright? YouTube has a de facto monopoly on meaningful video hosting online. Sure, there's other services like Vimeo or whatever, but how often do you end up there watching videos? Hardly fucking ever. Oh, but there's other places like Facebook. Facebook is even worse. Right? And when you put stuff up, a good, probably the majority proportion of the people that follow you don't even get to see what you've said. Twitter, well, you can post your YouTube stuff on Twitter. You can post very, very short videos on Twitter, but Twitter is going the way of the censor as well. Right? So social media effectively now, with the possible exception of Google+, but they've got their own problems, like nobody fucking uses them except us. Yeah, all of this has issues. Right? And this is a major problem. I don't think people understand the scope and scale of it, right? What social media do people really, really, in the majority, in a meaningful way use, apart from YouTube, Twitter, Facebook? Where are we facing huge amounts of censorship and control over content? YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. There's no meaningful outlet, or useful outlet for free speech anymore online. This is the public square now. This was why government censorship has various laws and things to limit it, to make sure they don't limit our free speech in this way. That's back when the government really had any means of control. They don't anymore. All of the public square is owned by private companies. Our rights need to be protected in the private sphere. And before someone goes off, oh, my government, my free market, fuck you again, alright? We already step in as the state, the people's will via the state, to protect ourselves from private companies. This is why we have regulations. This is why there's not uranium-235 in your cornflakes. Alright? This is why there are environmental regulations. They don't pollute lakes and rivers. This is why a business is not allowed to deny a gay couple a wedding cake. Alright? We step in and we protect people's rights in the private sphere all the time. All the time. This is not controversial. So why can't we step in and protect a fundamental human right like free expression on private media? By all means, hive off controversial and nasty content away from the kiddywinks into its own separate ghetto on your platform, but there is no reason not to include this content on your platform. YouTube should have a porn section, alright, and they should run it properly, unlike RedTube and all the rest of it. all right, which basically rip people off. They should have a porn section. They should do it properly. They should allow people to advertise there. All the rest of it, that would be great support for people. All right, they should not be blocking adult content of any kind, really. There should be a place for it on these big platforms. Same for Facebook, same for Twitter, and the same goes for controversial political opinions as well. I don't care if you're a white supremacist and you have the most obnoxious views possible. You should have a platform. It should be perhaps hived off so kids can't get to it. Same as other controversial viewpoints on the opposite side of the political spectrum. I mean, there are some horrible social justice warrior types on here. I don't know if you're familiar with Black Hitler, but he's fucking horrible. He has a platform, and he should have a platform. However much I hate him, he should be able to say what he wants. Everyone should. Why is that such a controversial and difficult opinion? You know, I'm arguing that everybody should have the same rights and that we should protect those rights on these platforms. And like I said, these are de facto monopolies, so somebody, somewhere, somehow has to step in. Yeah, if creators refuse to create on these platforms, the advertisers are going to get no eyeballs. But it seems to be really hard to organise people on this kind of basis because it's easier to go to YouTube. You know, my audience is there, so why would I stop creating content here? But maybe we can apply pressure. Maybe we can make videos like this pointing out how fucking stupid it is and monetize the shit out of them. And open up via that lines of communication with YouTube to say, this is bollocks. When you see an advert on YouTube, maybe email that advertiser and say, I'm concerned you are putting adverts on YouTube and YouTube is now censoring us and demonetizing our videos and telling us that you guys are the reason why this is happening. Can you confirm or deny this? I will certainly not be buying your products if this is the case. Apply pressure there. Yeah, send emails, as we used to say in Gamergate. This is important. This is the free speech issue of the modern age. And it doesn't stop with social media platforms. You know, I've been censored repeatedly on sales platforms for my RPG products. And again, DriveThruRPG/RPG Now has a de facto monopoly. They are, if you're not on there, you're fucked, basically. You have to be on there if you want to make any kind of reasonable sort of sales in this day and age. And they've brought in more and more restrictions over time. And people say, oh, well, why don't you sell on other platforms? Well, some of my content is sexual, quite frankly. And most of these other platforms, like Gumroad and Sendowl and all the rest of it, have very specific restrictions on adult content. Why? Well, they say it's because of returns. Basically, if you sell anything a bit shifty, then someone might want to return it or cancel the payment or something more often. And this is also the reason why porno sites and a lot of adult product sites have payment systems you've never fucking heard of before, because the main banks will not touch that shit. That's also why sex workers and porn stars often have their bank accounts closed or get refused the right to open bank accounts because the banks don't want to be associated with naughtiness. So there's this second tier. I don't know if a lot of people are aware of this, but there's this second tier of payment services and credit card charges and so on for high-risk places. Now, a while ago, I was associated with an erotica writing group called Band Writers, who were dealing with this problem with PayPal specifically and publishing literary erotica. They wanted to refuse payments on that basis and were applying pressure to small publishers and sites that hosted that kind of content and so on. We successfully fought back, so it can be done. But this two-tier payment system exists. There is prejudice against certain kinds of creators, and that is censorship. If you can't produce and get something back for it, that is de facto censorship. I mean, why are you going to spend time making something you can't get paid for or get some kind of reward for, or you can't even host anywhere? That's how bad it gets. So like I say, this is the fight of the 21st century when it comes to expression, art, and individual human rights as far as global free expression goes. It's that important. People don't seem to grasp just how important and dangerous this all is. So I don't know what to do, really. I guess I'll run down my suggestions first. Make a video like this to raise awareness of the problem. make that video violate the monetization, and then monetize the shit out of it. When you get a contact back from YouTube, complain. If you can find an effective email to contact YouTube directly, send your complaints there. Do not use a form letter, write your own words. When you run into advertising on YouTube, make a note of the advertiser, contact them, tell them you're displeased, tell them that YouTube is under pressure, supposedly from advertisers, to demonetize and control content, and that you're not happy and you do not support this and you will not support the company if this is true. Write emails. Make a fuss. It's all we can do. And if enough of us do it, if enough creators do it, maybe we'll get somewhere. It's got to be worth a shot. Take care, guys. Have a good day. Watch the content while you can. If you like what I do here, please like, subscribe. You can find me on social media, on Twitter at Grimachu, James Desborough on Facebook, James Grim Desborough on G+. My main website is postmortemstudios.wordpress.com. If you want to help me out with a little money, which will go to support my games, writing and other projects, you can do so at Patreon, which is also Grimachu.